Okay, so the next type of asymptote that we're going to talk about is a horizontal asymptote. Okay, now this looks big and scary, and it's really not. Okay, the biggest thing that we're worried about is we want to look at what is the biggest power on the top and what is the biggest power on the bottom. So they're talking about the degree of the numerator is in, the degree of the denominator is in. Now, they talk about creating some rules, but the bigger thing to remember here is this last line: Bob yo, bot no, rat code. Okay, and I'm fixing to explain what that means. Okay, so I put it over here on our board. So Bob yo. Bob means bigger on bottom. Okay, so if your bigger power is in the denominator, the bigger power is in the bottom, then yo means that y equals 0 is going to be my asymptote, my horizontal asymptote. That's going to be the one that runs right along the edge. Then we've got bot no. So this is bigger on top. Okay, so if the bigger power is on the top, then there is no horizontal asymptote. Sometimes they'll abbreviate that HA. Okay, or there's none. Sometimes they'll say none. And then we have rat code. Now, for rat code, we've already handled that it's bigger on the bottom or it's bigger on the top. So the only option is that neither one of them is bigger. So the powers actually match. And so what rat code is the ratio of coefficients. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at with that is we're going to be looking at those leading coefficients for these. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a couple of different examples here. Okay, so the first one that we're going to look at is 9x squared over 3x squared plus 1. Okay, so when we're looking, biggest power on the top is a 2. Biggest power on the bottom is also a 2. So these match, so this is going to be rat code. So this is a rat code situation, which means we're looking at y equals, and we're going to go grab these numbers right out here in front of those biggest power things. This is going to be 9 over 3, which will reduce to 3. Now, if we were looking at a graph picture, okay, and I'm not doing these sort of verticals or anything like that right now, at y equals 3, okay, we would go ahead and put in our little dashed line right there at y equals 3. Okay, so now we'll take a look at another one. Get rid of this one. So for this one, we've got 9x over 3x squared plus 1. Okay, now biggest power up here, they didn't indicate it, is a 1. Okay, so I've got a 1 on the top. My biggest power on the bottom is 2. 2 is bigger, so we are bigger on the bottom, so we're Bob yo. So that means if we were going to a graph picture, this one would sit right along y equals 0, which would sit right along that x-axis. Okay, so now let's look at one more. You probably know where this is headed. Okay, so I've got 9x cubed over 3x squared plus 1. So my biggest power on the top is a 3. My biggest power on the bottom is a 2. We are bigger on top, so that is so there's no horizontal asymptote. So if I had a grid space here, I would not have any horizontal dash lines to be putting into place on this particular grid space. We might have verticals, but we don't have any horizontals.